Ooh, working from home might be giving more Canadians a sense of some freedom as a result of the pandemic. But your boss might be keeping a closer eye on you than ever before. New technologies are allowing employers to take a deep dive into your daily behaviors. So joining us with how this is working is Futurist Nik Badminton. Good morning to you. I'm watching you.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
All right, companies like Hubstaff, TerraMind, and Humanize are all working on products that track employee activity and behavior. So how do they work? What specifically are they watching?
Yeah, so hundreds of thousands of companies have installed these platforms, and they're monitoring your webcam. They're looking at your keystrokes, what websites you're looking at, when you're actually logged in, when you're logged out, and where you are. So it's this 360-degree view of what's supposed to be a view on productivity, but really it goes a little bit too far to just be that.
Some studies have already used biometrics like your heart rate as a tool to determine if someone is a good fit for a job. And technologies like Amazon's Halo are able to measure your mood or the tone of your voice. Could we start to see these kinds of devices deployed in places like job interviews, for example?
This has been tried, and there's been some technologies out there that have had to change how they operate by reading facial expressions and being able to tell emotional sort of states of individuals, because it just goes too far. And this kind of surveillance level analysis is really quite creepy. Generally, but actually in a workplace situation or even a job interview situation, it just adds anxiety. So how's that going to be a really good indicator that you're going to be a good candidate, right?
We know that in some centers, like call centers, for example, some of this technology is already in place. What people are, how long their calls are, what numbers that they're connected to. How prevalent is this kind of technology in other workplaces so far? Where else are we seeing it?
Yeah, we're seeing it in a lot of white collar and blue collar environments like factories and cameras, and like you say, the Halo wristband. And you're also seeing this in hundreds of thousands of companies in North America. So that during the pandemic, people that are trying to manage multiple resources across companies are trying to see, who's doing what and where they're doing it and how they're getting productivity. But this idea of productivity is kind of strange to me, because, someone can be hugely productive in a couple of hours a day versus like 8 hours just focused in on a computer where they may not have a great deal of focus.
This next question is going to become important as the workplace is changing post-pandemic. Are there laws around what employers can do when it comes to using surveillance?
We've got some pretty good laws up here in Canada. It gets a little looser as we go beyond our borders around what you can and cannot track. The employers have to justify why they're tracking certain behaviors. So banks might track their traders, and that seems really sensible. You might track levels of stress and anxiety in a factory sort of workplace, and that seems really relevant as well. But being able to track what screen you're looking at every 3 minutes of your day, 12 hours a day, probably is going too far. And there's a little bit of a gray area here in terms of the law. But you know what? I think that there's going to be a revolt in workplaces that are trying to really employ this kind of technology.
Well, and that's my question. So is there any recourse? Do companies have to identify if they are, in fact, tracking you?
You have to really be transparent, because if you're not, and suddenly hundreds of employees suddenly find out that they've been recorded or there's cameras on them or whatever, that's going to have a bad taste. I sort of say this to business leaders. If you feel that you need this technology, maybe turn the camera on yourselves first and look at how you're operating as a company, and then think about that before focusing on employees and their productivity, right?
That's a great point. All right, Nik Badminton, always good to talk to you on Future Fridays. Thanks so much.
I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.